Elden Ring Nightreign is one of those bad games you just keep on playing, that despite constant frustration and baffling game design choices, there's just enough there to keep you hanging on. And before people say, oh, you're just complaining about the game because you're bad at it, no, I'm actually one of the top players with multiple 1% achievements, that I have persevered through this, but I still have a lot of problems with the game. And surprisingly, the random matchmaking is not one of them, because that's something I can understand about the game. Elden Ring is hard. They dropped DLC when only 30% of the players had access to it, because only that many people had defeated Mohg by the time the game came out. The modern gaming audience is not prepared for Souls-like games. Elden Ring does make it nice because you can just explore the open world, power farm, and eventually just like out-level and stat check everything. But modern gamers also don't want to put the time into their games to learn them, get good, get proficient. So when any bad gamer can just buy the game and end up in your lobby because they saw the hype around it, yeah, it can create some problems, especially when it's one of those team-based games where you have to play correctly or you just get completely obliterated. And yet, I don't see that as a big problem with the game, because skill can buy you a lot of autonomy. That if you get really proficient on your character and you develop a lot of game sense, you can do your own thing for the most part and then carry the teammates that are being weaker, and eventually they're just going to get loot, they're going to get geared up, they're going to get levels, and at least not be complete dead weight. However, I've still had runs where, yeah, I completely flubbed, I got killed early because I got greedy or something, just really bad RNG, and then I completely fell apart, and then I had to get carried. Or there's other times where it's like, yo, it's on me to be the best player on the team, and if you don't do it, you lose. And that's just how Elden Ring is. So there's actually a lot of individual skill inside the game, and when you work for that and apply that, the game feels a lot better. Also, I'm an old school gamer. I appreciate the grind. I'm down with spending dozens and dozens of hours making very minimal progress just to get the chase I'm looking for, and that is the Relic system. So even if you go into a bad run, if you can carry through the first boss, make it to day 2, at least you get a couple relics at the end, you get some currency, and then you get to spin the relic wheel, and maybe you get something insane that is just permanent power forever, and every run is easier. That's the intended game design. Problem is, modern gamers are super weak and fragile, and they don't want to put the work into anything. If it's not Fortnite handing them everything immediately for free, they're going to complain and cry about it and not put in the time to develop the skill, to actually grind for the power that is demanded of the game. I didn't have a problem with early League of Legends where you could just lose the game because the opponent played more than you and just had better stats off of runes. That I'm about the grind. I'm about investing into a game, putting in a ludicrous amount of time to then get the reward and achieve what the game is about. But now people just want, again, everything handed for free, or they expect games just be like speedrun, blitz through, and you don't have to play it any more than 20 hours. So even if I'm getting bad multiplayer runs in Elden Ring Nightreign, I'm getting a bit more skill, I'm getting a bit more comfort, I'm learning how to deal with the bad teammates and trying to carry, and at the very least, I get a couple relics, I get a couple chances to get those stats, and then we can have permanent power that makes all the future runs easier. But then we get into the baffling game design decisions that just makes this game bad. When I said at the beginning of the video, it's a constant barrage of the game just being frustrating, and it's not because of the difficulty, it's because of things that don't make any sense. Why is there not a surrender vote? That if like you go into the first camp and you wipe, the vibes are off. It's ruined. I don't want to waste another 10, 15, God forbid 20 minutes if someone like perseveres and takes out the night 1 boss. It's completely fine to go next, try again, because Elden Ring isn't going to get any easier, especially if it like keeps on happening, because oh, now you're several minutes behind, you're still level 1, you don't have any gear. If you try again and fail, or the clears take slower, it's like, cool, I'm walking into the end of night, level 3, level 4, and I have all commons if I was able to even get any kind of gear. Like, I don't need to spend 10 minutes to know the run is doomed and it's just going to be an uphill fight. And I'll say that probably every run is salvageable to at least make it to day 3, but you're going to get annihilated by the boss if you have a rough start. So I don't want just like, oh yeah, 30 minutes of doom. If everyone is in agreement, just FF and move on. Another baffling thing, the game not launching with duos. So this is also another weird thing where, like, yeah, people don't have friends anymore and people don't game together anymore. Now, I can see that going both ways where, like, yeah, a lot of people are just insulated and weird, but also there's just so many games out there that friend groups just kind of split off into their own thing. That used to be, yo, everyone played League of Legends, we can get fives almost every night, and it usually gets to the point where a couple people have to sit out and then duo queue together. So, like, the big group, when you're playing the big game, has enough people. But now it's like, well, I got a friend playing World of Warcraft, someone else playing RuneScape, other people are still holding on to League of Legends. Why is that guy playing Overwatch by himself when we could be playing Nightreign? And then the rest of the group doesn't like Nightreign. Oh, we only have one other person that wants to play the big game right now. So I can also see just like the split, and there's so many other games to play and so many things to do that it just doesn't come together that way. But also, the social media era has just cooked everyone into being antisocial, so we need 3 people to make a match? Yeah, that's never happening. Now, I do understand people suck, and levers in multiplayer ruin the game experience substantially, which is another thing that I'm baffled the devs didn't plan for, that if someone leaves, there should just be an option, hey, quit, you won't be penalized. And if you want to stay in with the other person, cool. If you leave and they want to stay in for the relics or something, cool. If everyone quits, remake. Great. Awesome. But, like, no surrender vote, no actual punishment for leavers, and then just being stuck in a frustratingly, like, horrible experience for 10 to 30 minutes? Nah. But on the other side of the multiplayer experience, get good. Be the leader. Maybe that's another problem with modern gamers. No one wants the responsibility to be on them, especially in like a team-based game and a difficult game to where no matter how good you are at Elden Ring or Souls-likes, you can still just get wiped out. You can tumble into a mechanic and then fall apart. The boss is one hit from dead. The guy always clutches and he chokes. And then that's just kind of like the worst feeling in the world, and no one wants that put on them. But you're playing the multiplayer Elden Ring game. It's going to be like that. Get good, be an inspiration. If your team is hopeless, at least you get permanent rewards at the end with it. But also, a lot of the game design is just horrible, and it's mostly around the bosses, that the bosses aren't fun. They're just stupid gimmick fights that are reliant on RNG, because why do you have effectiveness against bosses when it's random loot? Okay, cool, we need fire weapons for this, and nothing on the map spawned with fire. Same thing for like poison or these really specific things. Now, you don't need it to beat the boss, but it's not cool that this is the design. The design is, hey, you need RNG relics that maybe start with a fire aspect. Or you need to roll for fire damage buffs, or sleep resistance, or madness resistance, and if you don't, you just lose the game. And while the shifted earth events are cool, making it to where bosses are substantially easier depending on the event isn't cool. So it's like, okay, now we need the mountain, and if we have the mountain, then we can't waste any runs, so we have to go and get the secret of the mountain if we want to take on the frost dragon. Now, it's not mandatory, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't like how that game design feels. It's kind of icky. And the funny thing is, we actually beat the ice dragon after the mountain event wore off, so that just happens sometimes. And then other fights are just stupid. The Dark Drift Knight, the Equilibrious Beast, I'm not enjoying the Gaping Jaw at all. Sentient Pest is mostly just that. It's just kind of like an annoying fight, but it seems to be the second easiest behind Gladius. So the boss design really ruins a lot of hype for the game, especially because in a Souls game, yeah, you're supposed to die a lot to learn the mechanics and eventually brute force. That doesn't work when you have to wait 40 minutes to get an attempt, and then you just immediately get one shot and wiped. So you don't even make it to the learning phases, and then if you don't get good gear, you're going to see even less of the boss if you even make it to the day 3 boss, because maybe your run is just so terrible you lose to something weird on the night 2 boss. That was the weird thing that happened with the Frost Dragon. We died to the Dancer at the end of day 2, even though we had the mountain buff that gave us the frostbite resistance, and then we just kind of brute force and got lucky with the first clear on this guy. And that's another thing that shows really bad boss design, is that even on the bosses I've beaten, I don't know the mechanics. I don't know the weakness and how to successfully beat it again, except for Gladius, because that's the only well-made boss. But Augur, I just got enough sleep resistance, and I couldn't tell you what the optimal way of doing the mechanics. I hit the anemone looking things and then dodge the nuke and just kind of swing at the boss, kind of. And if that's actually how you're supposed to beat the boss, then that's awful boss design. And then with the Frost Dragon, we got lucky because every time the fog rolled in, we just ran to the edge of the map and then dodged the wipe mechanic, and then we ran in and hit him. And he just kind of like stopped attacking for the last third of his health, or he was like doing really ineffective attacks. Then instead of like blowing frost at his feet and then nuking us, he just kept doing long range attacks where no one was there with his breath, and then he kept whiffing on his ultimate moves, and we just kind of cleared it. And I don't know if that's like good RNG, bad RNG, good design. Well, it's not good design, or like if it's just that much bad design inside of it, and then this is just a BS fight. So it would be cool if your runs meant more and you can actually have a better chance at stat checking the boss, but because this is Elden Ring or a Souls-like game, the bosses aren't ever supposed to be easy, they overload it with gimmicks to where it doesn't matter how good you did in your run. If you have legendary gear and you're level 14, it doesn't matter. You don't get to win. So it really feels like it defeats the purpose of the roguelike extraction game when the bosses are just nonsense no matter how good or bad your run went. And if you have a bad run, then it's just like completely hopeless. But even a good run with like good skill and good enough play can just cause you to lose, and then it's GG just like that. And then the other thing I really don't like about the RNG are the relics that I talked about. Yeah, I'm happy with grinding and I love rolling the Gamba wheel, but at some point the treadmill just gets too annoying. But there needs to be some kind of way to get better gems more consistently that aren't just bricks on your characters, because you'll get something that's like an effect where it's like, oh, this is going to be for a character. So you'll get something for the Raider skill, and then the secondary slot will just be Faith +2. It's like, well, I can't do anything with that, so it's not even like I have a level 2 or a level 3 gem. And then you also get like so close to getting a good roll. Hit point restoration upon katana attacks. Why can't that just be like great axes, and then my Raider build would be awesome with +2 vigor, +3 endurance at the start? But no, we don't get that. That there needs to be a couple more options to where I can spend 900 and get a guaranteed color, or I can spend 1000 and while completely random, it's at least going to be of a higher level. And then the generic ones you can buy, they're not that crazy. And at least you eventually get the option to buy something for your character specifically that actually synergizes. And look at that, like, these are 1,000. So why is it so expensive to roll and then get nothing, or there's like no better way to actually get good relics? And the thing is, before you can unlock this good stuff, you have to defeat 4 bosses. So it's too little too late at that point. And that also depends on your character and playstyle. I don't really care about the totem. The ult is all right. I mostly use it for like the invulnerability and the staggering, but you don't really fight around the totem that often or that much to where it's like, oh yeah, this is effectively just a +2/+2 stone without a passive, which is okay and doesn't feel that great. And then other effects end up being weak. Like, okay, if you just get a random fire ability, it doesn't add too much to the skill, so you're just buying this, so at least I'm slotting in +2 strength, +2 dex, when it would feel so much better to like roll that and actually get a shot at something powerful. So standard attack, but it has throwing pot damage and throwing daggers. Like, look at that. We got a grand stone roll that is completely useless because we're using pots with a dagger start. What's the point? Random +2 endurance, fire attack power up. I wish there was something else for that stone. And this is what I'm talking about. Hit point restoration on great axe attacks. Incredible for my main. +1 intelligence. So actually just horrible. And then I just get to sell those and I get to roll it down. So it's like one of those things where, oh, I have to play for 30-40 minutes to get like a couple from the raid and then 3 rolls, and none of the relics are good. So even though I said I enjoy grinding and like spinning the wheel, it's not fun when you play for 5 hours and you have no relics to show for it. So the idea of getting that permanent character progression that makes the game more bearable or allows you to have more impact with your skill, it just never materializes unless you play for an absurd amount of time. And modern gaming doesn't afford that amount of time, where it's not like, oh, there's only one game you play and you dedicate years into that and it's fine. Now, again, it's a variety of games. There's always a new game coming out. Attention spans have been completely crushed by social media. Also, society is kind of falling apart, so people just don't have the time like they used to. And now this is my super fun and exciting gameplay loop oh boy, we sold all those things, and now we get 3 more rolls. I hope I get something cracked I can use. Grease items. Like, these are just so bad. There's like so many bad ones that don't synergize or work together, and then you can't really have a build because you can tell like they're trying to go for builds. Why are there perfuming art stones? That's kind of crazy. Also sorceries. Cool. I want to do a sorcery build, but I can't get enough to bring it together. You can also get armament skills change at the start of the expedition. Why can't I just get like guaranteed rolls for the passives? That would actually be really cool if like it was 600 or 700, and then you can get a stone that like guarantees at least an armament skill. And I'm not saying a specific one, but if it guarantees a slot 1 armament skill, then yeah, make that like 900 or 1000, and that would still be way better. Guarantee a level 2 stone or something, so at least I can make a build and have fun. I just want to get wild strikes on my weapon, and if I can start with that, and then go for smithing stone runs, and at least like carry those into the games, that would be really cool. But you can't have builds. You can't have enough consistency in this game, despite there being like a permanent power aspect inside of it. And that just sucks. That maybe it's possible someone can go for a grease build or some off build. But much like we learned with Elden Ring, that even though there's a lot of passives and a lot of talismans, it doesn't work in Elden Ring, let alone RNG Elden Ring that has gimmicky boss fights. So there's just so much that you can't tap into on this game, and it's all surrounded by frustration. And that's like my big complaint where, yeah, I'll keep playing it. I have fun with the core gameplay of like running out, every run's a little different, get better at clearing out the bosses, get more consistent. I can do that. That's what I game for. But then there's no reward at the end of it, and then I'm just wondering, why am I even playing this game? And if that's me, where it's my job to play games, I love grindy games, I love wasting time inside of games, and I really enjoy getting good at games and developing game sense and skill expression and stuff. But I'm at like the higher upper end. Like I said, I've noticed that kids these days, they don't want to play games, they don't want to invest into games, and if it's too hard, they just quit. Which is kind of a good thing for the multiplayer aspect, that everyone's like, oh, this game sucks, it's BS, online multiplayer sucks, everyone's bad. It's like, cool, the bad players quit, and then the quality goes up a bit. The problem is, the systems and RNG just make it too inconsistent, and too punishing, and too unsatisfying. And it's like, sure, yeah, the game just came out, but it's a full-fledged release. So a lot of these problems should have been found in testing and somehow weren't fixed. That's another thing I hate about modern large gaming titles. How was this not tested? How does it take 2 months to fix the day 0 problems with the game for every game and every developer these days? That part also gets tiring. So yeah, that's my Elden Ring Nightreign review. It's a very, very frustrating game that always beats you over the head with how frustrating it is. Yet there's something about it that you can just... Where are we dropping, boys? You know, that's just how it feels. The replayability is good. Everything else about it is bad. I'm not even like, but they'll make it better and the devs will change things. This is the game. This is the experience. There's going to be DLC. I know that. But at some point, it just gets unacceptable to launch a game with this many problems. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.